Hope you're having a great day. Uh, Welcome back to the channel. I'm Jim Munchback. If you didn't know, if you're new to the channel, this is personal finance at the University of Houston, Bauer College of Business, and we're about to get started. I am having just a wee little bit of technical difficulty. Hopefully, the stream is live now on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn. A couple other places too, but my buttons aren't working, which is a bummer. See if I can get there we go. I don't know why that's not working. I'm pushing these buttons, and so yeah. Anyway, we're going to get started in just a minute. So welcome aboard if you're watching live. We are going to be focusing on the Credit Crush assignment. So this is the fall semester. It's 23 September, year of our Lord 2025. I can't believe it's already September. Anyway, we're moving right along throughout the semester. And in case you haven't heard, I am going to be taking a sabbatical from teaching next year. So this is my final semester to teach until after the sabbatical. And the truth is, I am considering making this my retirement year of teaching. So we're working on that with leadership and so on. But this is an online course, an asynchronous course, and so the Bauer College of Business is eager to go back to the classroom. And I'm not so eager to fight traffic and parking on campus, so I'm not sure what I'm going to do. But anyway, it's a pleasure to be here, and it is a very interesting semester for me because each of these lessons that I've developed over the years that are very meaningful to me. Each one of these lessons that I teach is possibly the last time I get to teach it. So today we're going to do the Credit Crush assignment. And like I said, I'm having a little difficulty with my setup here. So I'm hoping I can get this to work. It's not working when I push my buttons. So as you may know, I have this, well, I'm not going to show you the setup at the moment because it just isn't working. So I'm going to, what am I going to do here if this doesn't work? Normally what I would do at this point is shut down my computer and uh, start it up again. And I'm not going to be able to do that because we're just not going to be able to do that. So I'm going to, before I get, at least I have my iPad. That's a good thing. In case you can't tell, I've got a cold. This is a summer cold. I got it the last day of summer and it's sticking with me. This is like the second day of autumn. Did you know that? Summer is over. Autumn is here. The temperature still feels like summer to me. But anyway, uh, this is week 5, and this is really this week's lesson, this week's assignment for you is really just a preparation for next week's assignment. Next week is the Credit Crush assignment. That's where I'm going to teach you. We're going to take what you have learned so far about credit, and I'm going to show you in a very practical way how your credit and how you manage your credit can impact your financial future in dramatic ways. So this lesson is based on, and by the way, before I start talking about this lesson, let me make sure you know that in the video, where you're watching this video, whether it's on YouTube or LinkedIn or Facebook, in the comments below, you will find a link and it goes to this post that you're seeing now. This is my iPad over here. I would show you my iPad, but I can't. Let's see. Does this work? Yeah, that works. It works, except I don't have the right camera. Let me get rid of this camera. I'm doing a little work on the side here. Yeah, look at that. It worked. Okay, so yeah, this is my playground. And some things are not working. These little buttons that I push right here are awesome, but they're not working. And typically what I would need to do to fix that is just shut down. But since we're in a live stream, that's not a good idea, so I'm not going to do that. So anyway, I'm playing with my playground here, and I'm back on my iPad. So this is the iPad that you're seeing now. Uh, and this is the post that I want you to know is available. And the reason I want you to know about this post is because it has some extra content. So you have plenty of content in your assignment and Canvas, uh, but you also have a lot more content for this week's lesson to help you prepare in Money Study Group. But this is just an extra post that I use for the live stream for the lecture. And I did include, I want to show you what I included here. So there's just a section here that's a checklist. I thought it would be helpful to give you a checklist. And this checklist is what you're going to want to pay attention to, not so much for this week's assignment, although this is what I will be looking for when I grade this week's assignment. But the point is, you need all of this information built into your RightCapital financial planning portal in order to complete the in order to complete the assignment for next week. Now, as you may notice, while I was looking at you, my button that I pushed like 3 minutes ago has taken. So I'm gonna see if I can get. Yeah, it's not working very well. I apologize for that. But let me see. I'm just gonna jump up here and see if I can go with it. I apologize. This technology is awesome, but it doesn't always work perfectly. So, okay, I'm going to deal with this delay. So here we go. These are the things I want you to pay attention to. Um, if you will, let me see if I can turn this off. Yeah, I did it the old-fashioned way. I found a link and I clicked it. Okay, so let me just walk through these elements of what you're going to want to do this week in RightCapital. So you should have already done this. I asked you to set your birthday up so that you were 10 years older, um, and that should have already been done. So if you haven't done that in RightCapital, go ahead and do that. As I tried to explain before, we're going to be pretending, starting this week for sure, we're going to be pretending that you're 10 years older. And you will understand why that's important as we move forward through this semester. But it's going to really be important for this week and next week. So make sure that that's done. And the next thing is you're going to need to do a little research. I talked about this before, but I want you to know this week and next week, this is going to be important. Your income, you have a data card in RightCapital. Excuse me, I muted the microphone so that I could cough. Uh, you have a data card in RightCapital, and you'll see it in your assignment, an image of the data card, but you should know where that is in RightCapital. Just make sure that you do a little research and figure out what you want, what you expect or hope for in terms of your income when you graduate. So the assumption is that you're going to be getting your dream job, and your dream job is I don't have it here. Yeah, here we go. Decide your income assumption for this assignment, and really for the rest of the semester. You're going to have your you're gonna have to just think about 10 years from now. If you had graduated, and we hope you do, and you find the job that you're looking for, that you hope for, your dream job in your area of study, how much money would you be making in that job? So that's what your assignment is this week. Do a little research, figure that out. Decide how much of your income, what percentage of your income is going to go to a mortgage. And then part of this assignment is to go do a little research, find the house in the area that you would want to live, and pretend that you're buying that house. You're going to have to figure out a down payment, an interest rate for the mortgage. Is it a 30-year, 15-year? You're going to have to, that's all part of the data card for your mortgage. So that's part of your homework assignment this week. You're going to have three big purchases. Um, you're going to have your income after graduation and expenses after. My buttons are still not working, so I apologize. Um, it will work. There we go. Now, if I push the button again, there we go. There we go. Yeah. Anyway, your expenses are part of something that I want you to include as well. Just a quick screenshot. Show me that you have thought about what your expenses will be after you graduate once you start working. So that's what I'm looking for. And you'll want to pay a little attention to that this week and next week. The most important screenshot, I will be showing you that. I think if I scroll down, I may have the most important screenshot somewhere here in this post. I know it's in your, it will be in your uh, assignment, your Canvas assignment and instructions for next week. Yeah, I don't see it here. So I, I could scroll down here and show you the most important screenshot. Um, Problem is, it may not. I'm going to give it a try. Yeah. Let me get rid of, I'm going to try and hide these. So there we go. Now this is what you're going to see when you jump into your RightCapital. Uh, in fact, I'm going to sign into RightCapital while that is showing. And I'll be right, I'll show you what I'm looking at here in just a second, but I don't want you to see all the clients I have in RightCapital. It wants my face. There we go. My password. Uh, I'm just going to show you where to find this screen that you're looking at right now, because that is what I call the most important screen. I'm pushing my buttons and nothing's happening. Do you know how disappointing that is when you have buttons that you can push and you push the buttons and things happen 30 seconds after you push the button? Okay, I'm not sure what's going on here. I'm logging into RightCapital just like you would do. And I'm going to look up Billy. And once I find Billy and get in his plan, I will bring you back so that you can see what I'm seeing. Okay, so I'm going to click on, I'm going to show you my iPad here in just a second. Here we go. Jim, I got a nice note here. Okay, so now I'm going to jump up here and I'm going to go back to my iPad. Now I'm going to show you RightCapital. So this is Billy's plan. It's his snapshot, basically his dashboard. But what I want you to see is when you log into your plan, you're very likely to come to the dashboard. And in this week's assignment and next week's assignment, you're going to be doing some work. First of all, go to Profile, and this is where you're going to add your credit card. Okay, that's where you're going to do that. You'll see these instructions. You'll also add mortgage. So bank, I think that's where we do account type, money. Nope, that's not it. Where do we go for a mortgage? I guess we add property, loan. That's where it is. Click loan and mortgage. So that's where you're going to go to add your mortgage. And notice when I did that, there are certain specific, I'm adding account, I'm going to loan, I'm adding a mortgage. Okay, that's what we have listed here. And you'll notice all of these fields. This is your research for this week. Um, you're going to have to figure out what is the interest rate you will have to pay if you get a loan, a mortgage loan. Um, that's what you're going to have to do a little research and figure out. And I'm very curious to know what you come up with. You're going to have a monthly payment, a minimum payment, a loan term. Are you going to get a 30-year loan or a 15-year loan? Smart folks would typically go with a 15-year loan, but that does mean your payment's going to be higher. So you get to decide. But again, this is where you're going to do that. You're going to add three things. Remember, three things. Let me go back here, see if I can go back here. This is the assignment. And I had the checklist. I'm going to get the checklist up. I'm just going to stick with my iPad today because my iPad is working. If I don't push any buttons, I don't have any expectations. So I'll just keep using this. So you're going to have the three big purchases: your dream house, your dream car, and a new credit card with at least $10,000 debt. And again, this is all spelled out in your assignment instructions. But what I want you to notice is that each of these three big purchases that you're going to be preparing for this week, you're going to be building the data cards. That's how I'm going to know that you know what is involved in making these financial decisions. And I know you may not want to have a credit card with $10,000 debt, and that's okay. You can delete it after the semester is over. But for the purpose of this course, you're 10 years older and you have debt. You have a mortgage, a house, you have a car loan, a nice car, your dream car, and you have at least $10,000 in credit card debt. That is what you're going to be dealing with. So again, the way you add those accounts to your RightCapital is you go to add account. So you've got card, that's where you add your credit card. You'll go loan, and I do believe under loan you can have, yes, a car loan or a mortgage loan, and you need both. So that's where you're going to do that. But here, okay, so that's all just kind of leading up to the main event. The Credit Crush assignment is designed to help you really understand how much credit costs you. Sorry if I'm making you dizzy. Don't look at the screen. This is your expense list. This is Billy's, actually. It's not yours. I know you knew that, but I had to say it because you need to include your expenses as well, a detailed worksheet. This is something I'm going to be asking for pretty much every assignment that involves anything related to the capstone. So the Credit Crush will be part of your capstone assignment. And so all of these assignments where we deal with RightCapital, you should be looking at your expenses and making sure that those expenses make sense, that they're realistic. That's what I'm looking for. Do you understand what it's going to cost you to live 10 years from now once you're out of college and nobody's paying your bills, you're paying your own bills? These are the expenses that you have. These are Billy's again, but I want to see what you have. So make that kind of something you pay attention to for the rest of the semester. These are expenses that you expect to have, that you're going to have internet, you're going to have phone, you're going to have car, you're going to have entertainment, you're going to have rent or mortgage. So this is yours, and you can add in RightCapital, you can add and edit these categories. So that's that's what uh, that's what you're going to need to do this week. Again, this week is all in preparation for next week. So you get a whole week to just add information to your plan in RightCapital so that you can jump into the Credit Crush assignment next week. So this is where you're going to go next week. And by the way, this week in this post that I have right here that I'm on my iPad, this is linked in the comments below, and I would appreciate, or you may appreciate, what's here. I'm not positive that I've posted this in Money Study Group. I think I did, but here's what I want you to know. This is this week's assignment in preparation for the Credit Crush assignment. So this is week 5. But here's next week's assignment. Okay, this is the Credit Crush assignment. And so what I want you to know that this is here so that you can get a heads up, a preview of what you're going to be doing next week, because that may help you do this week's assignment uh, more easily. I hope that's the case. But anyway, I'm going to show you real quick what the big goal is here. And before I do that, I want to tell you a quick story. I want to see if I can find this is, I'm looking for a button to push. I'm looking for Connie. Connie is my wife, and I'm trying to find, yeah, I'm not seeing it. Okay, here we go. I'm about to show you, uh, I'm about to show you, that is my wife, my best friend forever. That's Connie, my wife, and she's the one who helped me um, figure out how much debt costs. Okay, so this whole lesson, the Credit Crush assignment, comes from my experience, a very painful experience with my wife, Connie. When we got married, she's always been very frugal. I told you that last week when we talked about first memories of money. I shared this story about her boots. So you're just seeing some pictures of our family, but that's my bride, Connie, who I love with all my heart. The best thing that ever happened to me. She is God's best blessing of my life. But she, Connie, always very frugal, and me, not so much. And so early in our marriage, what happened was I made pretty good money. We were in college. We got married in college, and I was making pretty decent money as an auto mechanic. And I spent money a lot. I wasn't afraid to spend money. And we got married. We set up a new household, and we had to buy a lot of stuff. So I didn't always have the money to pay cash for a new dining room set, a new TV, some furniture, a car, some tires, whatever. And so I would use the offer that these companies would make to let me put the item on credit. And I was all good with that because I made pretty decent money and I was able to pay the bills, I thought. The problem was my wife, Connie, that's my mom, Ellen, and my dad, who's passed there. That's me and Connie. So anyway, when we uh, so back then, I made the money and I'd go into the bank. Uh, and Connie was the one who paid the bills. And back then, this is back before the internet, back in the time of Noah, when there were prehistoric animals roaming the earth to and fro. Back then, in those days, you had a checkbook. Now, you may have a checking account, but my first semester of teaching this course, I was talking to my students about balancing their checkbook and how important that was. And they were very clear with me that they never balanced their checkbook because they would just open their phone and the app to their bank would be there with their balance. So why would they balance their checkbook? And I was like, the times they are a changing. And so I got with it pretty quick after that. But the point is, back in the day, the way that it worked when you didn't have the internet and you didn't have a bank app to tell you what your balance was, you didn't know what your balance was if you didn't balance your checkbook. And the way you did that is you would take all the checks that cleared the bank and they would mail those to you, and you would go through them and you would go into your register, a physical thing that was part of your checkbook, and you would go through that and you would mark off all the checks that cleared. And if there were checks that had not yet cleared the bank, like if you wrote a check uh, to to pay your rent, but your landlord hadn't gotten to the bank yet, you knew you had a check that was outstanding. So that $500 for rent was still not part of your balance. Now, if you were today to open your bank app and it would show your balance, if you had written a paper check and it had not yet cleared the bank doesn't know that that check is out there, but you would need to know that check is out there. And the only way you would do that is by balancing your checkbook. So that was Connie's job. She would balance the checkbook. I would make the money, I would deposit it in the bank, and then she would write the checks and pay all the bills. The problem was every once in a while, I would find something I really wanted to buy. And so what would I do? I would take my little plastic ATM card. We did have those back in the day, these plastic ATM cards. And you could take cash out of the bank, and I would do that. $100 here, $100 there. I mean, I made good money, and I felt like, we could afford that every once in a while. So I would do that. And sometimes I would forget to tell Connie that I took the cash out of the bank. Therefore, when she balanced the checkbook and she's writing checks, she wouldn't know that there was $100 less or $200 less in the checkbook. Are you following this story? So this is where the Credit Crush assignment came from, because one day, uh, with all these new accounts that I had opened to buy things that I really wanted that would make life so much better for me and my new wife, and we also had a child after 1 year. And this was about the time that we realized, Connie realized, and she helped me understand that we were buried in debt. And the reason we were buried in debt was very simple. And I'm about to show you in Right Capital for yourself how this works. Credit is a product. It's not a privilege. It is a product, and it can be very dangerous. And it was dangerous for us, for me, specifically for me, because we were paying the minimum on all these accounts. And Connie was writing the checks, paying the minimum. And then one day she opened the statements after having several NSF, that means insufficient funds, because I'm taking cash out. She's writing checks, they're bouncing. And we're getting behind her and behind her, more and more behind. But more than that, when she opened the statements and she's writing these checks and she's paying the minimum, she's noticing that the balances of all these accounts, these credit accounts, they're getting larger. So she writes a check, and the balance, she pays all the interest, she pays the minimum payment, and the balance, instead of going down, it goes up. And she's like, "What?" And so we had the conversation, and that's when we went on a spending freeze. And I think I may have told you this story about how I cheated on our spending freeze, and I purchased a very beautiful 357 Magnum from my friend Vance, and Connie found out about it while I was on the phone in our living room talking to Vance about this secret purchase. Uh, she heard me from across the room, and she came and poured cold water on me during our spending freeze. But the spending freeze, the credit card statements, all of these things created this perfect storm in our marriage back in the day. And my wife, Connie, helped me understand what I'm about to teach you. So I am going to jump back over to my iPad, and I'm going to show you. Let me go here, and I'm going to go back. Now I'm back in Billy's plan, just like you will be in your plan. And I'm still pushing my button to try to, it's not working. I pushed a button to try to make that label go away, but it's not. It's staying there even though I pushed the button. So again, I'm going to commit to not pushing the buttons, because then I won't have any expectations. And if you have no expectations, then you can't be disappointed. So there we have it. Okay, back to Right Capital. So I showed you how to add these accounts. You got to do that this week. That's your job. But to get to the debt, this is next week's assignment. Okay, I'm just going to show you the most important screen for next week's assignment. And this screen won't work for you if you don't do this week's assignment. So to get to the debt strategies, you push these three dots right there. Okay, there's no lower nor upper navigation tab that says debt. There used to be, but Right Capital changed that a few months back. So you're going to push the three dots, and you just saw when I pushed those three dots, I went from this profile section When I hit the three dots, it takes me to debt management. Okay, that's what you're going to do. If you want to play with this after you get your 3 data cards built, you might want to do that. It's kind of cool. So you're going to click action items, and you see right here that for Billy, we have highest to lowest interest rate, but there are 3 settings, 3 different options. You can do the same priority for all of your debt, or you can, and that's the default. That's what it's going to be when you open this up for the first time. Highest to lowest, uh, and then there's the third one is lowest to highest balance. I typically find you get better results when you pay off the highest interest rate first. When you scroll down, once you make that change, I'm going to say same priority. This is going to put it back. But look, I have to. You always have to hit the refresh button. So if you make any changes and you don't hit the refresh button, by the way, please make a note of that, because I promise you there will be students who will not pay attention to that. They didn't hear what I just said, but you did. So maybe you could share that and group me. Um, Same priority for all debt. So he's got $93 million. Uh, Wait a minute. What are we doing? Okay, so here we've made another addition. So instead of paying the minimum, paying the bill that he's been paying, Billy and Sally, we added $500. So if I put that to 0, and then again I hit refresh, this is what you should have. You'll start off with this, with just your debt. The debt that you're adding to your plan will be here, and you'll have no strategy. You'll have no debt reduction strategy selected. So again, you could say, I'm going to put an extra, $300. You don't have to do this. This is not required, but this is here for you. This is the way that we help clients figure out how do they eliminate debt quickly. So all I did there was I added $500. Again, I'd have to hit refresh, and you're going to see that's going to give a lot of savings, just $500 a month. But instead of doing that, I'm going to put that back to 0, and this is what you're going to want to do. Put that to 0. And instead of same priority, I'm going to say highest to lowest. And again, don't forget you have to hit refresh. And when you do that, you're going to see that your strategy is saving you a lot of money. Now, in this case, Billy is my Frankenstein plan, as you may know, and I've added all kinds of weird things to his plan because he's not. Billy and Sally, while they were real people in the beginning of the story, their plan is not real. It's just a plan that I use to illustrate things. And so I'm saying that because $93 million is a whole lot of savings. And if you have $93 million in savings, you're going to need to do a few extra things, a couple of minor extra things to make sure you don't get a 50-point deduction in your capstone assignment. So we'll talk more about that next week. All I'm asking you to do right now is know where everything is, set up these 3 data cards so that you have a mortgage, you buy a car, and you go into debt on credit card for at least $10,000. Make sure you've made your age 10 years older. Make sure you've updated your income. So that means you have to do a little research, figure out, your dream job. Where are you going to be working? Because then you're going to go shop for a house that you can afford based on the percentage that you tell me is the right percentage that you should use out of your income to allocate towards a mortgage. So that's all part of this week's assignment. Um, and it's all kind of laid out right here in this post, as well as in Money Study Group. And the instructions in Canvas are pretty good, but if you feel like you're going to be a little confused here, I would just spend some time and read this post that's in the comments. It's linked in the comments. And again, you'll get this checklist, which should make it pretty easy. And the checklist is here for sure. I do believe I popped that into your Canvas assignment as well. But I hope that helps. I am going to wrap it up. But before I do, we need to do the secret class collaboration. So here's what I'm going to suggest. I had this amazing clip from the president of El Salvador talking about wisdom, seeking God's wisdom when it comes to as a leader of the country. And it was a great clip, but somehow something is messed up in my system, and I'm not sure why, but I can't play that clip. So uh, I apologize for that. I am going to do this real quick, though. I'm going to remind you that this whole lesson, the Credit Crush assignment, is all based on this, what I call the most important screenshot. So just this, I showed you where to get, how to get here, hitting those three dots. But this is just a GIF file that shows all of the things you can play with after you create these data cards for your mortgage, for your car payment, and for your credit card. So there's plenty of information in those data cards. But then when you go to start to create your debt strategies over there, when you hit those three dots, there's a lot of information there that I want you to know is there. And I just want you to go and play with it a little bit and get familiar with it. It's a lot of information, so much better than what we had back when Connie and I were figuring out how to get out of debt. You have a tool here that is really, it's really, it probably has way more information than you need because there's a ton of information in there. But I I want you to check it out and just know what's there. If you do get that huge number like Billy has, then this is where you're going to want to go, and that way you can filter down a little more and see where is this huge number coming from. If you're able to save $100 million in your debt strategy, there's something going on in your plan that is just really bizarro, or and that is true in Billy's plan, and I could show you why that number is so massive. But the point is, in fact, I'm going to show you real quick before I head out because I just think this is kind of cool. Let me go up. I mean, this is what my wife Connie discovered when she opened the statements. So I'm going to go to, where am I going to go? I'm going to go to payment. Okay. That, let's see, let's go to details. So see, I'm in debt strategy. I hit the three dots, and this is where you select the strategy. So you have these three tabs. Okay. And then you've got payments, and it shows all of the payments. Billy has a lot of payments. Again, this is a Frankenstein plan, so don't pay a lot of attention to it. But then jump over here to details. Okay. So this is Billy's Chase credit card. We could pick, and if we hit the drop down there, we could pick any of those. But that's the first one, and it'll work just fine for this purpose. So the beginning balance, see that beginning balance, 22 grand. Um, Interest is $3,000, and the payment he's making is 29,973. Now look at that balance. This is annually, okay? This is an annual balance, and he's probably paying monthly. So you could click on monthly. Let's see what monthly looks like. Yeah, so his interest on a 23,000 22,345 balance. His interest is 258 monthly. He's making a payment of 248 monthly. But look at that ending balance. And this is what my wife noticed on the statements when she was paying off our credit cards. They weren't credit cards, they were credit accounts, like rent to own and some other things that I bought. But anyway, they came with statements. And she noticed that the ending balance was just like this one, going up, not down. And sometimes there would be, she would write a check to pay the payment and the check would bounce. Remember, I was taking cash out. She didn't know how much was there. So she's writing the check to pay the bill and it would bounce. And then what would happen is, and this may happen to you, they raise the interest rate and they may raise the payment amount, the minimum payment amount. Um, but that just adds more interest, which means the ending balance goes up and up and up even faster. Okay, so think about that. If you've got these three pieces of debt, the mortgage, your car payment, credit card, and most people do, most people have debt and they don't even know, they don't even pay attention, just like Connie and I didn't know. We didn't pay attention to the fact that the balance is going up. And that's what's happening in Billy's account across the board on all these different uh, credit accounts. So you can see that you can't really see. It's kind of hard to see maybe, but when you go into your plan, that's what I want you to do. Just check those details and see, because that's when you go back to the strategy. And when you select a highest interest, you're going to notice when you hit refresh, don't forget to hit refresh. And then you go into the payments, things are going to change. So these payments will change as a result of the strategy that you select. So again, all of this is for next week's assignment. This week's assignment is still very simple, to just go in and add these items to your plan so that you'll be ready for next week's Credit Crush assignment. This week, week 5, is just the setup for Credit Crush, but hopefully it's helpful. I want you to know where you're going with this assignment. So that's what we spent the majority of time on today. I'm going to be traveling today and trying to get over this summer cold. Even though it's fall, my summer cold is hanging around. So I'm going to be traveling. I'm in Friendswood right now. I'll be traveling to the Stephen F. Austin State Park, where I'll finish out the week. Uh, and I've got lots of work to do today. So I'm going to jump in and do some grading, hopefully later today and certainly by Friday. So I want to just remind you, if I can find. I'm looking for the early assignment. I'm not going to find it. I've shared it with you pretty much every week. The early assignment, I want to encourage you to turn your assignment in early. When you do that, um, I commit to grade those. Like if you turn your assignments in early by Friday at 3 p.m., I'm grading those usually Friday at 3:30, 4 o'clock. I really get to those promptly. If you turn your assignment in on time or just before it's due, it's going to sit in my queue for a while. But if you turn it in early and if you miss something, I give you some feedback and I give you the opportunity to make the corrections. You have to turn it in on time after you make the corrections, but you get 10 extra points. That's a 20% bump, and you get some feedback, and you know what your grade is. So I'm just going to encourage you again every week to do your assignment early. It helps me help you, but mostly it helps you. So good luck with that. I'm going to go ahead now and hit the end button and finish, and I'm going to go. I'm going to go and I'm going to go and blow my nose. So that's what I'm going to do. I hope you have a good day. Hope you have a great week. Hope you